Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 3-Minute Bio News. My name is Juri Hwang and I will be delivering some of Korea's hottest biotech issues today for you in 3 minutes. Among venture capital firms, Intervest invested the most in volume in 13 companies with a total of 94.5 billion won. Smilegate Investment invested in 15 companies with a 77 billion won. Korea Investment Partners invested in 19 companies with a total of 57.2 billion won, and Daily Partners invested in 18 companies with 48.6 billion won. Out of all biotech companies who benefited from VC investments, D&D Pharmatech attracted a total of 83 billion won, 40 billion won from Smilegate Investment and 30 billion won from Intervest last year, and was named the first company to attract more than 50 billion won in venture capital investment annually. Currently, D&D is investing heavily in the research and development of Parkinson's disease cure with researchers from Johns Hopkins in the U.S. Bioinvestment is also expected to expand as venture investment is expected to grow in 2020 from last year. According to a survey of 107 venture capital companies by the Ministry of Small and Medium Business, venture investment is estimated to be around 4.6 trillion won this year. There is no match for SK Biopharmaceuticals in the bio-conspiracy market this year, even if companies that do not meet the IPO criteria, which include preview request and technical evaluation, they are considered to be one top by far. Given the symbolism of big business bio, some observers say it is an opportunity to revive the sluggish biodistribution market. SCM Life Sciences and PH Pharma followed SK Biopharmaceuticals as expected IPO stocks this year. SK Biopharm won nearly half of the total votes in a public stock survey conducted by The Bell. Given that it is a multiple response, most of the respondents selected SK Biopharmaceuticals as the top public offering for this year. SK Biopharmaceuticals has been stepping up its IPO since it passed a preliminary hearing on the main bourse in late December last year. Considering the 135-day rule of the Overseas Investment Manual, it is highly likely to submit a securities report in March. Other bio companies preparing for the IPO apparently do not want to overlap with SK Biopharmaceuticals. Some predict that the success of SK Biopharmaceuticals IPO will be a gauge of the bio industry this year. The core of corporate value is a treatment for cerebral palsy, which was approved by the U.S. FDA in November last year. This is the second fruit of the year since March last year, when the narcolepsy drug solriamfetol was recently approved for sale in Europe following the U.S. last year. Value and public offering are both expected to be the highest among IPO companies this year, although CJ Healthcare is preparing for IPO as a big business pharmaceutical company. It is not compared to SK Biopharmaceuticals. For now, the market's attention is on the size of the new stock issue and the sales of the old shares of the parent company SK Corp. For SK Group, which wants to make its first IPO after SK CNC, it seems difficult to be greedy for the public offering price considering the success of SK Biopharmaceuticals. The longer the Corona-19 is, the more deeply troubled the pharmaceutical industry is. As overseas workshop and clinical trials have been postponed or canceled, they seem to be working on countermeasures. There are about 20 Korean pharmaceuticals and bio companies in China that have corporations or production plants. Celltrion, GC Green Cross, Tonga Socio Holdings, Huon's, Hanmi Pharmaceutical, and Daewoong Pharmaceutical have operating in China. The companies are said to have suspended operations at the request of the Chinese government and operations at local factories. Since the spread of Corona-19 is spreading faster in China, it is believed to minimize damage. Daewoong Pharmaceutical, which had previously entered the Chinese market, is said to have replaced its workers with the telecommuting until last Tuesday. A source at Daewoong Pharmaceuticals said at that time Korean workers who were working in China were briefly in Korea due to work before the situation occurred. And until last 9 days, all employees were replaced by telecommuting. In 2016, Pharmaceutical established a Chinese corporation, a factory, and a research institute, and Ursa, Nulanta, and PRC have succeeded in targeting China. In particular, the 3 Chinese clinical images of botulinum toxin making Nabota are in full swing. In March last year, Nabota's manufacturing facilities were finally approved for clinical trials. The change of manufacturing facilities to the second plant, which has a production capacity of 9 times more than the previous one, was also interpreted as a full-fledged move to provide stable products. In addition, Celltrion, which recently launched a biopharmaceutical production factory in China, said that it is currently conducting only emails and phone calls without additional business trips. According to a source from Celltrion, the situation occurred shortly after the MOU was concluded on the Chinese production plant. Celltrion is currently reviewing the postponement of the construction and other projects that have been planned for the first half of this year. As soon as the Corona-19 broke out, Celltrion provided emergency relief supplies such as masks and dust-proof suits to Wuhan, China, to prevent the spread of the damage. Celltrion is working with the Chinese city of Wuhan to carry out a big investment project. The group plans to continue to pay attention to the international emergency, such as the spread of new coronavirus in Wuhan, and continue to provide unsparing support. Celltrion also announced plans to develop the Corona-19 treatment for public purposes. Samsung Bioepis, which formed its second partnership with a Chinese company last year, hopes that the Corona-19 will stabilize as soon as possible. Samsung is currently planning to conduct a clinical trial, but if Corona-19 is prolonged, it can cause a setback. Samsung Bioepis had formed a partnership with Seabridge Capital, a venture fund operator in China, in February last year on the rights to issue biosimilar products. Under the contract, Seabridge Capital will establish a biofirm name of Fame Therapeutics in China to handle the sale of products that will be approved in the future, while Samsung Bioepis secured the cash for the copyright contract and received a certain percentage of royalties from future product sales. Hu Hansung, president of Samsung Bioepis, said at the time that he was working to provide more patients with treatment opportunities through high-quality biomedicine, adding that he expects Seabridge to be a great partner in expanding its business area in the Chinese market. Well, that's it for today's briefing on Korea's hottest biotech industry. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you on our next episode very soon. Have a great day ahead.